New year means new events, and there's a lot to choose from. In this episode, we'll talk about where to find value and what to expect from this year's lineup. Welcome back to RPI Tech Connect, the go-to podcast for ERP insights and best practices. I'm your host, Chris Ari, and for today's episode, we're talking about events in 2025. There's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to events, and that's why RPI and Infor embrace a variety of formats to meet customers, prospects, and partners where they are, whether that's virtual, in person, or somewhere in between. So today, we'll talk about how to find value at these different types of events. And joining me, I'm pleased to welcome Michaela Fallon, RPI's Marketing Director, and Devin Sheppard, Infor's Senior Enterprise Partner Marketing Manager. Michaela, Devin, happy to have you here today.
Thanks so much. Excited to be here.
Chris.
Welcome back, Michaela, actually. Yes, this is your recurring episode, right? It's an annual tradition now.
The people were demanding it, so here I am. No,
I didn't know I was joining a star. Look at that.
Yeah, no pressure. No.
Well, I appreciate both of you taking time out of your days to hop on the program here. I thought a great place to start for our discussion today would be to talk about the importance of events and the role they play within the Infor community. So, Michaela, first question here is for you. Why are events such a critical part of the Infor ecosystem? That's both for customers and prospects. So, what can you share?
Totally. So, I guess we'll start by the elephant in the room here, which is we are all marketing people who probably have a vested interest in getting you all to events, but that
nudge, wink, wink.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean I don't actually believe that events have a ton of value, because I, both as someone who has hosted events and as an event attendee, think they are incredibly valuable across the Infor ecosystem. Couple of main areas that I see people and that we hear feedback from folks getting a ton of value from events. First and foremost is networking. There is just nothing that replaces that in-person meeting your peers or meeting partners or vendors or anyone that you come across at an in-person event. You create a whole different level of relationship than you do just chatting. In fact, I had the pleasure of being on a call recently where customers were talking about their experience at Infor Connect, which I'm sure we'll talk a lot about, last year. And one of the customers highlighted that his biggest takeaway was forging those connections with folks at Infor, that he felt like he had his go-to people then. So that's kind of the first thing I look at with events. The second is learning and dreaming, for lack of a better word. I think events provide a dedicated space to whether you're getting training or learning about industry topics. Is one side of that. And then also it gives you space to do the big thinking, to say, what's going on in my industry? What's new? What should I be excited about? And what should I bring back to my team? So that's really what I look for at these type of events.
Yeah, I love to hear those things, Michaela, especially I feel like learning and dreaming, that's stuff that inspires folks, right? They go back to their jobs and like, man, I'm happy I went to that event. I learned these things. Now I can put that into practice.
Totally.
You got to go back. I was going to say, you got to go back and tell your boss, hey, I got value out of this. Look at all the things I learned. That $1,200 or $1,500, $2,000 we spent, it was worth it.
Amen. Yeah. And it takes you out of your day-to-day work and puts you in a new environment with new people. And it kind of, I think, creates the space for you to have those aha moments. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Question for you now, Devin. What does Infor hope to achieve by hosting such a wide variety of events?
Oh, man, that's a great question. I kind of want to piggyback off of some of the things that Michaela mentioned. But first, I think first and foremost, kind of greater visibility. As was mentioned with events, you're able to reach both customers and prospects. Obviously, from my side, I'm on partner marketing. So being able to get that face-to-face time with partners and is really that back and forth, that collaboration, that networking experience. I mean, you really get to see what's happening within the industry, and we can essentially use that to grow as a company, but we use that to grow for our customers as well. So definitely greater visibility. I touched on it, gaining industry insights, while continuing to enhance the Infor brand. Obviously we know Infor, I work for them and you guys are partners, but as we go out to the market, making sure that people know, well, who is Infor? What can Infor do for you? And how do we work together with awesome partners like RPI? And so I think really having that opportunity for gaining industry insights. And then finally, having more opportunities, especially again, I work with partners. So being able to collaborate with ecosystem partners. So I know for me, like the value, as Michaela brought out, networking. So I had just started at Infor at our last Velocity last year, and it was great being able to get that FaceTime with our partners, being able to put a face to the name and to collaborate, to talk to them, network, and see like there's so many partners such as RPI and others who know the Infor brand and know the Infor product. And it's just interesting to hear numbers like, oh, we've been an Infor partner for 5 years, 10 years, 15, 30. It's like, wow, that's really impressive. So I really can't understate the value of events and what we'd like to do.
Awesome. Thanks for that. So, Michaela, we're going to pivot here and talk a little bit about what RPI focuses on from an event standpoint. So, what are the key offerings we have and what do they provide participants?
Totally. So sometimes we joke around here on the marketing team at RPI, at least, that we're a partially events company because we do love to host events at RPI. We think it's a great way to connect with customers, prospects, partners, Infor folks. It really is something we really believe in as an organization. From a hosted events standpoint, in 2025, we will be doing more of our, hopefully by this point, famous Bootcamps. These are trainings that we do 2 or 3 days in person on site. And very exciting, we're hosting our first one in the Infor office come this April, which we are jazzed about. So we will have more of those rolling out this year. Additionally, we do remote trainings called Lunch and Learns, which, again, talking a little bit about bringing events to where people are. It's another great way to get these kind of bite-sized training sessions. We actually did a survey of the Infor community recently, coming out in a couple weeks. And we saw that over 60% of respondents said that they were looking for training events. So that's something we are very happy to host and promote as RPI. In addition to that, we'll get into this a little bit more as we go through our conversation, I believe, but we are very big believers and supporters of user groups. We will be at all the user groups. Come find us this year, as well as, of course, these tentpole Infor events. We get a ton of value out of those and love to see our customers getting value out of those as well. So keeps us busy, and hopefully we get to see a lot of you this year at all of those.
Awesome. Are you going to have any time in the office, Michaela?
It's fun. I like to be out on the road. Like to meet people. So
right. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So Devin, then we're going to pivot here and talk a little bit about Infor's different types of events. So and maybe you can make the distinction clear here, but obviously you host a lot of different events. How do those each kind of serve your different customer needs? And maybe we can start with Velocity and Connect. How do those differ?
Yeah. So when we look at Connect, that's really targeted more towards, a different audience of healthcare, distribution, things of that nature. Whereas with Velocity, it has the full product suite. So while Connect is a little more targeted, Velocity this past year was a little more open. It had all of the different Infor products within it. And so I think as we look at this year in terms of events, Michaela mentioned a few different types of events, but, different events meet different customer needs because, different audiences have different needs for different reasons. So, for example, when we look at product users, they'll benefit from maybe enablement sessions or trainings, such as Michaela mentioned, or decision makers. They may benefit from hearing some of the customer wins or use cases like we highlighted at Velocity or at Connect. And then, we want to be strategic with the type of events that we're opening because it opens the door to greater audiences. So we've got trainings, virtual roundtables, We have third-party events that Infor is attending, again, for a presence, but also for taking in those industry insights that I mentioned. And there's essentially constant beneficial learning that's available at these different events. And so, you know, you don't want to just put on an event or attend an event just for the sake of doing it, but rather you want to know, what are your goals for going? What are you trying to get out of it? And how is this going to, and from our side, from the marketing side, how is this going to make me a better marketer for my customers? How is this going to make me a better salesperson? How is this going to make me a better product owner? Again, all that comes from picking and choosing the right types of conferences. So as we look at our event schedule this year, no doubt we're going to ramp up the events and, see again where we can best leverage those opportunities.
I really like how you talked about events having something for everybody. The end users and the decision makers and so forth. It's like there really is value for lots of different folks. And that actually segues nicely into this next question I have for you, which you've kind of answered, but I want to be explicit here, is that with all these different options, user groups and trainings and mega conferences and smaller scale things like RPI's Bootcamps, how can customers and prospects who might feel overwhelmed by all these options go about deciding what's right for them? What is that? And that question's open-ended. That's for both of you. So how should they approach it?
So, I love it. I think from my perspective, and I'll give a shout out to our AEs, our account executives on the Infor team, they build a really good relationship with their customers. And so when you have that individual who you've built that relationship with, you want to just ask them, hey, what events will Infor be present at? Or what events do you think will have a good, will either help me build industry insights or will help me to just learn more and have a deeper dive about the product. So I think definitely having that open communication. I know for us, we have our events posted on our website, and from the partner side, I have a good relationship with our partner managers, and we provide our partner managers with an events calendar that they can share with their respective partner contacts. So that way, again, they can see where we're going to be. And, again, if you've built that relationship and you have open communication, you can just ask, hey, why are you guys attending this event? Why is this one that I should put on my radar?
Yeah.
Because of course if we all had the time and money and budget, we would love to attend all of the events. Yes, give me all the events. But unfortunately, finance is there to keep us in check. So that's where just having that kind of open communication and maybe just deciding, to your point, does it make more sense for the product owner, for a product user to go to, let's say, Velocity versus, the decision maker going to Connect or vice versa? Again, that's just one of those open-ended questions. But again, it really helps you to decide which event to go to.
Yeah, I love having that open dialogue, right? Just have a conversation. You'll find out. But you gotta initiate, right?
Yeah.
Michaela, anything to add?
Yeah, I will, piggyback on what Devin said there. I think there's really two questions to ask yourself when you're deciding about an event. One is, what are you trying to get out of it? If it is how to do a specific function, that sounds like a training event to me, as opposed to, I want to be excited about what's going on in the healthcare industry. That's a healthcare industry event, as opposed to, I want to meet folks from Infor. That's an Infor specific event that I think you kind of go through it that way. I think the other thing is thinking about your role in your org. And if you're running a team and trying to figure out who to send where, trying to find that fit for a specific role at a specific event. I'm gonna do maybe not some wild speculation, because Devin is now here to keep us honest, which is good. That's a good addition this year to this pod.
Sometimes I don't know. We'll see.
But my sense is that, speaking of those kind of two tentpole Infor events that we look at least from the RPI side, that something like a Connect is a little bit more technical, a little bit more, as you mentioned, focused on those services industries, whereas something like a Velocity is a little bit more state of the company, dreaming, larger industry trends, that those are slightly different audiences. Maybe Connect is a little bit more someone who's maybe not an everyday user, but someone who's more technical in the product, as opposed to Velocity's a little bit more strategic vision focused. Is that fair? Is that kind of how you all look at those two? Again, glad to have Devin here to keep me honest in these things.
No, I think that was a perfect summation, honestly. I think no, I think you're spot on. And as we look at both conferences, that's the great thing about events. They continue, just like with businesses, they continue to grow and evolve. So yeah, absolutely. That's what they were last year, and they both will be still happening this year. So look forward to more. We'll see what happens.
Thank you for confirming, because my next question was going to be, what do we have to look forward this year in 2025? Like, what are the events? What are the marquee events, both RPI and Infor? So it sounds like Velocity and Connect are both tentatively a thumbs up. Is that right?
Yes. So both Connect and Velocity will be happening. Like I said, we continue to grow and we continue to evolve our events. So we're working on the agenda, we're working on the material, but just know that in both events, they are going to be, as always, geared towards our customers, our prospects, great partners like you guys. So TBD, more information to come, and yeah, and hopefully, we'll get to see everyone in person.
Awesome. Michaela?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we got Bootcamps rolling out this year. We will continue to do lunch and learns. Those are the RPI-hosted ones we're focused on. And then, again, find us at all the user groups, all the Infor hosted events, and some industry events as well, particularly in healthcare and public sector. That's where we generally focus our attendance. So, yeah, lots of fun stuff coming up.
For those of you listening in, I hope you've been taking note. There's a lot of options and events to meet both Infor and RPI at. So we would love to chat with you and find out what it is you're looking for. Before we wrap up here, I got two more questions. And this is kind of a bigger dreaming one here. No right or wrong answer, but how, events have obviously changed since COVID, and things are continuing to change, every year. Any thoughts on how things might evolve going forward, within the Infor community?
All right, so I'll
go for it.
That one, Devin? Yeah.
All right, I don't mind taking a stab at it. No, I think that's definitely a great question. So as we look at digital in the hybrid era, I think that's true. When we weren't able to meet in person, we weren't able to do these things. Obviously virtual was the only way to go, and now as we shift back to more in-person events, I think, Michaela started us off just being honest. People want to collaborate. People want to get that face-to-face time with one another. And that is great. However, I do think that there will still be a component of, virtual. I think, perhaps in the past, let's say pre-COVID era, we might have had webinars that were, an hour long, 45 minutes to an hour long. Well, I don't know about everyone else, but my attention span has shrunk immensely since then. So for now, a lot of the webinars and a lot of the virtual things that we do, they're 15 to 20 minutes. I mean, it's snippets that people can actually take in and where they can focus their attention while still getting things done. So I think we'll start to see more of that, and I think there will still be a hybrid component as well, because to that point, it's like people want to do events in person, but perhaps a lot of companies, their budgets aren't quite where they were pre-COVID as well. So, having that component of, in-person and virtual, I think we'll continue to see that. And it's curious to see how events will evolve and shift over time. But I would definitely say events aren't going anywhere, and I don't think virtual will essentially go anywhere either.
Thanks for that. Michaela?
I think that's a great point, that it's not either or, it's both and, that it's not worth sitting here and saying, oh, no more virtual or no more in person. I think we've proven at this point that it's both. And I think talking about the different types of virtual and in-person events, certain things lend themselves better to virtual, certain things lend themselves better to in-person, and you're going to get different value out of each. For a virtual event, the cost is much lower to attend. So you certainly want benefit out of it, but you're looking for a different amount of value or type of value, as opposed to, spending the money to fly and stay and do all of that. So I think it's okay that virtual does not have all of the same benefits as in person because there is a much lower barrier to entry for those. So I totally agree. There's room for both. And I think we have to continue to offer the best versions of both types of events.
That's awesome. I really like how you explained that there too. Like, it isn't one or the other, it's both. And depending on what it is you're trying to do, one environment might be better than the other. But they're both good in their own way. Right?
Totally.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, awesome. So we're getting close to time. One last question for each of you. If you could offer one piece of advice for today's audience, what would it be? Devin, we can start with you.
Oh, okay. So I would say, I think we kind of mentioned it halfway through, but checking out the website, we post all of our events there, but also again, have that open communication with your account manager, your partner manager. Ask your Infor representative, what events, where are you guys going to be this year? I know for us, we are finalizing what that looks like, and it's going to continue to evolve even throughout the year. But yeah, to get those conversations started, and so that way you can start to plan which potential events you can meet us at in person. And again, we'd love to see everyone in person, but if not, again, there are going to be multiple opportunities where people can get face to face with Infor and our partners this year. So definitely excited for things to come in 2025.
If you're listening, don't be shy. Reach out and say hello. Michaela, what do you have for us?
Yeah, and I just want to say I love, Devin, what you were saying about your AE being a resource even for non-Infor events. It's not something I had ever thought of to say, hey, where are you going to be? Could this be a good industry, non-Infor specific event? So that's a great call. I love that. In terms of my one takeaway for folks listening, I would say don't be afraid to talk to people if you go to an event in person. Might sound a little basic, but if you are putting the time and effort and energy into being there, sometimes the best things that can come out of these are the organic conversations and connections that you can make. If you meet me at an event, you may end up on a podcast, as Devin can attest, since he and I met at Velocity last year. So it'll scare people off.
Great though, I won't lie.
The benefits of attending events is that you might end up on podcasts you didn't know about.
There we go. We did it. But yeah, I really do feel like that is those intangibles are a lot of what people get out of attending these things, and I would encourage people to go for it. So
awesome. I love both of those takeaways you both shared there. The communication is the foundation for so many things. So thank you both again. For those of you listening in, appreciate you hanging out and stopping by. This has been a lovely episode. If you have any questions about our discussion or want to learn more about upcoming events, we encourage you to reach out to us. You can email us at podcast@rpic.com. Again, that's podcast@rpic.com. This is RPI Tech Connect, and until next time.